Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Today's Hukamnama comes from the heart of a very beautiful oppressed soul. That soul is Sant Namdev Ji, a beloved of God who had a straight connection with God, but who was never appreciated, whose holiness was never recognized during his prime time period. Why? Because he was born into a so-called low caste. He was born into a caste where even his shadow was considered unlucky. He could be killed for even walking by the house of a high priest. He was never ever appreciated, never worshipped during his main prime time period, all because he was born into a family of fabric dyers. In reality, this saint was the jewel of jewels. He was the one who had vision because he had God's light within him. But he was a jewel dressed in rags. No one could recognize him. One of my favorite parables about this saint is one day this saint was laughing and playing, and he thought, let me go into the mandir, which is a Hindu place of worship in Hinduism. And he said, let me go in. And he recognized it as God's house, because for the saint, everything is God's house. God isn't limited anywhere. So he thought, why would I be kicked out? This is God's house. And he writes about his experience. He says, Hasat khelat tere dyore aaya. Laughing and playing, I came to your temple, God. And what happened to him? The priests were so full of hatred. They threw him out just because he was a low caste. They said, how dare you come here? Bhagat karat nama pakkar uthaya. And why? They grabbed him. Pakkar means to grab. And they drove him out because he was seen as an outcast. Hinri jaat meri jadam raya. Hinri jaat. My low caste. When he writes about it, he says, laughing and playing, I came to your temple, God. And when I was worshipping, I was grabbed and driven out. O Lord, I am of a low class. Why was I born into a family of fabric dryers? Why was I born into this family who dyes fabric? Fabric dyers. And then something miraculous happened. And the best way, I love it, is the way a great saint told me the story once. He told me that this blessed soul, he told me that Sant Namdev Ji had a straight connection with God. He was at that stage. And the saint started crying. And he heard God's voice. And if we really want, all of us can feel God talking, not in a voice, but God's beautiful vibration inside of us. So the saint, in his heart, asked God, oh God, tell me something. That's supposed to be your house, God. You are my God. Why was I kicked out of your house today? And God said to that saint, listen, saint. Listen, my beloved saint. Why are you complaining? You say it's God's house, and just today you have gotten kicked out of God's house. But these priests are so full of hatred. You're complaining it's God's house? I myself have not been able to get into that house because they're so full of hatred. I'm God and they haven't let me in either. Their hatred is so vast, I could not go there. They call it God's house. But even though you were thrown out today, think about me. I have never even been let in. And it is said after that, the temple turned around to face in respect this great saint, Sant Namdev Dev Ji. Even if you go today in India, this temple still stands, and it's the only one that has the door facing the opposite direction. And this is so many years ago. This saint had such a great, vast pattern of thinking. His thinking was so advanced that he said, Hindu puje dihora, Musliman masit, name soi sevye je dihora na masit. Hindus worship at the temple and Muslims at the mosque. But Sant Namdev Ji serves the Lord, who is not limited to only the temple and the mosque. He's everywhere. This is the pain in this soul. And God bless Guru Nanak Dev Ji. When he came, all these saints, all these beloveds of God who have been pushed around, Guru Nanak put his Bani, his poetry, in the Guru Granth Sahib, even though he was a Hindu and this is a Sikh scripture. Guru Nanak wanted to show that religion means nothing. Nothing has to do with religion. It's the cleanliness of soul. Religion's gonna wash up when our body dies. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji lovingly took the words of this saint and put him in the Guru Granth Sahib. One thing we can learn from this story is how many saints are seen as outcasts. You'll see churches, mosques, even when we go to Gurdwara, religion has become so hypocritical that who knows how many like Saint Namdev Ji are being thrown out just for being different. Such a saint of God, and those priests knew nothing about God's worship. And today, look at what's going on. I don't think I have to even talk much. Anyone from any religion, a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, you can all understand what I'm saying. God's houses have become, not all, but for the most part, houses of God have turned into houses of the devil, houses of hate, where God is not let in. So today's words, today's prayers, come from the heart of that beautiful soul, Saint Namdev. Namdev Ji, मैं अंधले की टेक तेरा नाम खुंड खारा. मैं अंधले. Andale means blind. Ki tek. Tek is a support. Tera naam kundakara. Your name, God, is my support. Now we must ask ourselves a question. Sant Namdev Ji wasn't literally blind. Both his eyes could see, what we call blind. He wasn't blind. He wasn't netarheen. He could see outside. So this is a different type of blindness. This is the blindness of our inward eyes. Inside, all we see is darkness. We don't see God. Our soul's dirty. So the way someone who is blind on the outside uses a stick for support, the same way if we want to see God inside of us, we start off as blind here. After we're born, after a time, we lose that connection with God. So what can our blind souls do? Take the support of God's Naam, God's loving meditation. Because a person who can't see the outside world, they're not really blind. A truly blind person is one who is blind spiritually. मैं गरीब मैं मस्कीन तेरा नाम है दारा रहा. Sant Namdev Ji is saying, I am poor, I am meek, God, and your name is my support. Indeed, those who can fall before God, they have the ability to stand before the universe. Karima, Rahima, Allah Tu Gani. O God, you are Kareem, merciful. You are Rahim, you're the one who gives mercy. And you are Gani, you are the richest of the rich. Hajra Hajur, you are present everywhere. Darpesh, Tu Mani, God, you are everywhere, and because you are within me and everywhere, then why should I ever have to depend on anyone else? Dariyao tu, dehand tu, bisya tu tani. God, you are a river of compassion. You are the giver. You are the richest of them all, God. De le ek tu, digar ko nahi. God, only you can give, and only you can take away. No one else has that power. So even though Sant Namdev Ji was from a so-called low caste, didn't have much wealth, he had the wealthiest Lord with him. He said, God, you're my true wealth. God is always the wealth of the meek. Tu dana, tu bin naha. Main bichar kya kari. God, you are the wisest. You see all. And what can I do? How can I think of you? How can I talk about your virtues? Name che Swami. Name Sant Namdev Ji. Che Swami, O Lord of Sant Namdev Ji. You are the most beautiful God, the God of forgiveness. Today, let's remember that we are blind and we can't see. We're spiritually blind. And in order to go on the path of God, we must lose all our chalakiya. We must lose all our clever devices and just give ourselves up. Surrender to God. And meditation on God must be the eyes we use. Our two eyes have seen the world. Let's open up the eyes of our heart so they can see God. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.